Welcome back, boys and ghouls, to episode 3 of the Theater of Blood Horror Show podcast. I am Tony.
I'm Matt.
And we are back. We took a little break over the Thanksgiving holiday, and guess what, Matt? We had people saying, hey, when's the next show? So that feels good, and we thank you all for listening.
Thank you very much.
And we're glad we're building a minuscule fan base, and we hope over the coming months that fan base will grow.
Alright, let's start this.
Let's start this thing. Episode 3 is going to be... We're going to talk about quote-unquote sleazy horror films.
Well, you know, those movies that make you feel unclean.
Yeah.
And by the way, I just wanted to say, Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving, and you'll be hearing this 3 weeks before Christmas.
Yeah, exactly.
Sleazy horror films. These are not... We don't necessarily mean gore, and we don't necessarily mean a lot of sex. We just mean sleazy, grimy...
You know, those movies that make you feel unclean.
Yes. Like Abel Ferrara movies.
Now for this, I'm focusing on those movies that make you feel unclean.
Yes.
But are still...
entertaining.
You know, entertaining, but they're also in the gross out factor, as opposed to like a Darren Aronofsky movie.
Yeah.
Those movies make you feel unclean, but they also make you question things afterwards, and they're, you know, thought-provoking. I'm not talking about that.
But very quickly on Aronofsky, who I greatly admire. I don't know if you saw his Noah.
I have not. It's the one that was off topic for me.
That made me question, what the hell am I doing in this theater?
Well,
that is not a good film. No.
I didn't see why that was his next choice. I still haven't seen it.
I don't mind biblical films. I love Passion of the Christ.
Well,
I'm an atheist.
I can't give an opinion on it. I have not seen the movie, but I know that everything that he did before that, I liked on a high level.
Aronofsky?
Yeah, from Pi through.
The very underrated The Fountain.
The Fountain, The Wrestler.
The Wrestler.
Oh, one of my favorites. Black Swan, of course, won an Oscar.
Hate it. Can't stand it.
Yeah,
that's a whole nother show.
Really?
I hate IMDb
Weirdo?
1. Yeah, I know.
Fucking weirdo.
I hated that movie.
Fantastic. Mila Kunis and Natalie Portman together, and you hate it.
Only good moment.
Yeah, no.
Only good moment. I don't like Black Swan. That's another show. We should do that. I don't know how we could.
Requiem for a Dream.
That's his masterpiece.
Yeah.
That is technically would fall under the category of the movies we're doing tonight.
Well, see, that's what I'm talking about. Is sleazy movies that make you feel unclean and leave you with a taste in your mouth, like
a bad taste.
You know, Kubrick used to do that for people.
Clockwork
Orange. Struck people in a weird way.
You're right.
And there was an unsettling tone the entire film for Full Metal Jacket.
Yeah,
you know, it's always an unsettled, not feeling comfortable feeling.
Indeed, but
that's not what we're talking about.
Yeah, we don't want to give them the wrong.
Yeah, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about sleazy ass horror.
We're talking about movies that they used to show on 42nd Street in New York City when Times Square was the taxi driver Times Square. The movies that
drive-in movie theaters.
You didn't like sitting in the seats of the theater because it was
Grindhouse movie theaters.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. But Matt, would you like to get the ball rolling with your first sleazy movie?
Oh, all right. Well, I guess with my first sleazy horror movie.
Take a drink every time we say sleaze, people.
Yeah, sleazy. There's a man who had a pulse on New York sleaze.
Paul Schrader.
And he had a way of conveying it in his horror movie career that is very underrated.
Can I guess?
Yeah, go for it.
Larry Cohen?
Oh, no, but a good guess. Right. Good guess.
I just tipped my hat, by the way. Go ahead.
Well, I'm going to say it's a gentleman named Frank Henenlotter.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
Frank Henenlotter.
Yeah. Henenlotter.
The man who created Basket Case.
Basket Case.
The man who created Frankenhooker.
Frankenhooker, yeah.
And the man who created Brain Dead. And I think he did some other films, but those three
Especially the Basket Case trilogy.
Oh, the Basket Case trilogy. But Brain Dead was huge for me, you know?
But
Elmer,
just-
the little singing brain
Yeah.
stem monster that gave you euphoric drugs to the back of your brain stem.
But that and Frankenhooker were a little cleaner in style
They were.
than the Basket Case trilogy.
Right.
The Basket Case trilogy, just you saying it, I can remember when I first rented Basket Case and just the feeling I got. I'm like, ugh, everything's ugh.
Yeah. And that's
And I'm not even talking about the monster. I'm just talking about the apartment, the streets of New York.
yeah.
It's just blech.
And that's what I'm saying is he was that New York filmmaker that at that time, you know,
Yeah.
expressed what the city's pulse was with its underbelly better than anything that I had seen before. It was really, really impressive. And he carried that out in his other films as well.
Mm-hmm.
Brain Dead. I'm sorry, not Brain Dead. Yeah, Brain Dead.
Brain Dead.
Yeah, Brain Dead and
Frankenhooker.
Frankenhooker.
I just watched that about 6 months ago.
I just saw. I
Does
think it's
not
on.
hold up.
I think it's on Cinemax right now, and I'm gonna give it a rewatch because
Yeah.
I just saw it was on there on demand or something. Yep, good old Skinemax, still doing it for me.
Right. Have fun with Frankenhooker, by the way.
Do you remember when we used to call it Skinemax?
And indeed, yeah.
Oh.
They don't need Skinemax anymore. They have the internet.
These
You
kids.
kids don't understand what we have to go through.
Oh man, I used to.
On the Sleazy show, we can talk about this.
Well, I'll tell you, I used to go to the adult channel and then press the AF button over and over again, hoping that a boob would pop out.
Exactly.
And that's what we
Hold
had
that
to deal
squiggle,
with.
hold
You
that
know,
squiggle.
that's
Yeah.
what we had to deal with.
Yeah, you youngsters have no idea.
Pull something out of your pocket and you have anything that you ever
Yeah.
wanted.
Yeah.
Bastards.
You guys make me sick.
Bastard
I
children.
hate technology. Anyway, says two guys doing a podcast.
Yeah. How do we know about these things?
Yeah. No, that's a good choice, and I respect Basket Case's place in horror cinema. I never really cared for it. I saw all three of them. The other two are atrocious.
Yeah.
The first one's fine, I guess. It's almost too funny.
Well, it was shooting for the stars for me. And are they enjoyable films and something that I could just put on for anybody anytime? Hell no. But I love them, you know?
Yeah,
I
they're
like that sleaze feeling. It made me feel something. And that's the visceral experience that I'm looking for when I go to see a film.
Exactly.
If you can discuss me, good job.
Yeah.
You did something.
I was gonna say, after all we've seen
Yeah.
in horror and non-horror genres,
And I still get that feeling when I watch those films.
yeah,
They're
sure.
still
Basket Case is a gross movie.
sleazy.
And again, it's not all the gore we're talking about. It's just the entire aura of that film.
Right, exactly.
All three of them. Yeah.
Well, rally back to you, Mr. Francis.
All right. Ball's in my court. I'm going to go to the mid-90s. I'm going to go to a guy I mentioned at the beginning of this program, and it's actually an art film. But it's a horror film, and it's a sleazy friggin' horror film.
Okay.
He's
got me ready.
Abel Ferrara. The Addiction. I'm sure. Have you seen The Addiction?
I have not.
Lily Taylor is bitten by she's a college student in New York, and she's bitten by a vampire. She becomes a vampire. She runs into other vampires, a vampire couple, Annabella Sciorra and Christopher Walken, and they try to guide her through the new vampire, But it's a very much an artsy film. It's filmed in grainy black and white, New York, circa 1995, and it is Abel Ferrara is kind of all I need to say, but it is just grimy.
Abe Ferrara.
Yeah, it's grimy and slimy, and it's almost the 70s New York.
Okay.
But everything's dark and it's black and white, so the blood looks even weirder. It has this very sleazy aura that we talked about. But it's a great film. It's one of my top 5 favorite vampire films.
Wow.
It's one of my top 3 favorite Abel Ferrara films, and it's one of my favorite films of the 90s. But it is sleazy.
Wow.
It's not as sleazy as the Basket Case movies, but there's an air of sleaze. Like,
hey, when I was going sleaze, I'm going sleaze to the top.
You went hardcore.
Sleaze and cheese.
But Ferrara's The Addiction has that aura about it, and added to that is it's just a negative film. It's just a downer. Like, there's not one. It starts out she's having a shitty day, and then gets bitten by a vampire, and then it just goes down, down, down into this hell. And like, it's not a gothic vampire. It's not a romantic or a sexual vampire. It's a grimy, gritty, sleazy vampire film. She's sick. The addiction. It's an addiction. It
plays out kind of that vein, like, you know,
like a heroin addiction.
Yeah. And showing the addict.
Sure, and it's really kind of gross in its aura and sleazy, and there you go.
Wow.
Abel Ferrara's The Addiction, and not a lot of people have seen it, and I think it's a brilliant, brilliant film.
Hey, you know, you just introduced me, forget the fans, into something new I'm going to check out.
There you go.
Look forward to hearing my review shortly.
The Addiction. Maybe he'll post it on our Facebook page.
All right, so
he just jumped right over that. Matt doesn't like posting on Facebook.
Sorry, I'm going to try to post more. So anyway, the next thing, I guess I'm going to go back to where I was before.
Oh shit, Henenlotter again?
Yeah, well.
Can't stand that guy.
Now we're going to talk more about Brain Dead.
Tired of him, yeah.
I'm going to talk about a movie that I felt was sleazy cheese gold.
On Golden Pond.
Yes. I thought it was called On Golden Blonde.
On Golden Blonde. That's a real film.
Yeah. I know. I've probably seen it. I do remember the name. So,
this is a fun one.
This is I like this one. Sleazy. Yeah.
This is a good episode.
All right. So here's a sleazy one. You know, you want sleaze, and again in New York, and done perfectly. You know, it's about the bums of the city. Those bums that creep around.
Okay.
You know, and they go and find a bottle of Viper.
There we go.
A bottle of Viper. You drink it, and what happens? You melt.
You melt.
And this great movie is called Street Trash.
Street Trash, a great movie.
And I'm not kidding.
That movie.
That synopsis that I just gave you.
That's exactly
is the film.
And the synopsis.
Bums drink a liquor that makes them melt in pastel colors.
Exactly. And it's sleazy and gross.
Oh, and yeah.
Grimy. Oh. You know what? It's more grimy.
Grimy.
It's a grimy film. Yeah.
It's got
like you just want to take some easy off.
Yeah.
And a sponge to that whole movie. It's just so grimy. But it's fun. I like that movie a lot. I'm glad you chose that. I had forgotten all about that movie.
A little sleeper favorite of mine.
87?
I believe it was.
Yeah.
It maybe 87, 88, somewhere right around there.
So good.
And it based itself on a situation we don't often see anybody film from, which is the perspective of the homeless.
Yeah.
And the homeless in the New York at that time, you know. And,
which were legion, by the way.
Yeah. And it progresses to tell a story that's entertaining, gross. It has its ups and downs. It was a far better film than it should have been.
Exactly.
If that makes any sense, you know?
That's it. No, you're exactly right. And it earns its title.
Yeah.
Street Trash.
Oh, you feel grimy when you're done watching it, but you were entertained
it is.
the entire time.
If you're a fan of off the beaten path horror films, Street Trash is a hell of a choice. That's a good choice, man. I'm glad you brought that up.
Thank you, sir.
Check out Street Trash.
And now, rally back to you.
Rally around the flag, boys. I'm going to go with another artful film. I'm going to be the pretentious, sleazy one tonight. Except I'm holding my favorite for the end. And it's not art. But this one is a very popular film, and hopefully we'll have an interview with this director sometime, because I've been in contact with him for quite a while now. Directed by John McNaughton, from 1986, starring a unknown actor called Michael Rooker, Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer. Which could be in its own way the sleaziest movie I've ever seen in my life.
It was the first one to kind of show you their train of thought and let them run with it.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, it is about two serial killer best friends, quote air quotes, best friends, they live in Chicago and who kill and videotape their killings, and the camera does not shy away. And
at any point,
it's gratuitous and at the same time artful. Michael Rooker gives one of the best and most frightening performances, forget horror, in any movie ever. He's amazing in that film.
He is.
It is just, and everything's dirty, filthy.
It has that
ugly
feel. It felt like an updated Martin, if that makes any sense to you.
That
you know,
I can see
another
that.
one that I felt
a
kind of serious. It was
Except
Martin.
they were really killers.
Right, and they're really
still
killers.
Unsure if he was a vampire or not.
And which has a way of hitting me a little bit harder when you delve into the realism. Give me Texas Chainsaw any day.
Yeah.
And when you're dealing in the realm of real fucked up heads,
right.
That's something everybody can identify with.
Sure.
And even in Martin, is a vampire flick, but
Martin's
is it?
Early George Romero film, folks.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So we should explain that. George Romero,
a great George Romero film that nobody talks about anymore.
And it's about a vampire, or is he a killer?
Yeah, Martin thinks he's a vampire. He thinks he needs blood to live.
Right.
Or is he just a psychotic killer?
Yeah, exactly.
And you know what? By the time the credits roll, question's still there.
Yeah. You tell me.
Yeah.
Great film.
But it is a great film.
But not the sleazy one you're talking about. Portrait.
It's pretty grimy, but
of a serial killer. Henry Portrait.
Maybe I should have said no. My last pick is even sleazier than Henry, I think. But no, Henry is such a grimy, gritty, ugly film in both style and substance. But that's not a negative. It is a masterpiece.
I agree. 100%.
You could say it's a thriller. You could say it's a horror. Most people say it's horror. You could say it's a extreme drama, whatever you want to call it. It's almost uncategorizable. It's a character study, basically, of this psychotic killer. And it is one of the most frightening and ugly, not a complaint, films I have ever seen in my life. But yeah, very sleazy, very grimy. Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer, 1986.
All right.
Oscar-worthy performance by Michael Rooker. Of course, they didn't have the balls to nominate him for that. And the great Tom Towles. The late, great Tom Towles.
Late, great Tom Towles. Last appeared in, what was it? But Rob Zombie's film?
No, that wasn't his last one. He did a few others, yeah.
Okay.
So back to you.
Well, I'm going to come up with an obscure one that talks about every one of his films. If you want to talk about sleaze, and you want to talk about horror, and you want to talk about someone who knew what they were doing with this, then you have to talk about Roger Corman.
Roger Corman, yes.
Roger Corman. And my particular favorite is a weird one. And now I've forgotten the name of the film.
No.
Oh, God.
What's it about? I'll help you out.
All right. Basically, the creature from the Black Lagoon wants women, and there's a lot of him. And it's called...
Wow. I don't know. The creature from the Black Lagoon, and there's a lot of him. I don't even know what that means.
So a bunch of sea creatures come to rape women on the beaches.
Are you talking about Slithis?
No.
That's a sleazy horror film right there.
Oh, my God. Just my brain.
I'll move on from that one. Do your next choice while we decide what that one is. We don't want to bore the folks at home.
God giveth. Can't you edit this out?
Away. Yeah, but it's hard.
I know. Damn it. Now you got to listen to us.
Okay, here. No, while he's doing that, I will tell you.
Humanoids from the Deep.
With Doug. Yeah.
Humanoids from the Deep.
I did not like that.
All right. If you want sleaze, come
That's
on.
Sleazy, you're
They
right.
were just getting raped left and right. And
you're right. They are creatures that He's right. They came out of the water to
and
rape
just
women.
to rape women, and that was the point of the movie.
Yeah.
And they would kill you if you got in their way of raping.
You're right. I remember that played at the drive-in when I was young, and I wanted to see it, and my dad said, no, not at all.
But from that film, we can go on to the works of Corman. I mean,
Sure.
If you want to talk about influential in Hollywood, this man personally paved the way for so many people who came underneath him.
He did, and we need to do a show on Corman.
Corman, if you were part of his crew, you had a chance of going out and doing something. And when I talk about people that came up underneath him,
oh, jeez. Scorsese.
Coppola.
Jonathan
Even
Demme.
James Cameron.
James Cameron. Piranha 2: The Spawning. Awful film.
And he did the Galaxy of Terror. He was the DP on Galaxy of Terror.
There's a sleazy movie for you.
That's one of my favorites also.
I love that.
Sid Haig.
It's a big Alien ripoff.
It is.
Huge Alien. But you know what? It works.
But
it's got
though
that
it was an
dark
Alien
look to
ripoff,
it.
it had its own like story going on. It was a very unique
Aaron Moran,
sci-fi story.
Joni.
Yeah.
From Happy Days.
Yeah. Getting Butterball.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yep.
I like that movie.
Yeah.
But no, Humanoids from the Deep. That's a good choice. Not a fan, but that's a good choice.
But I'm talking about
they're genetically half man, half fish creatures. They kill men and rape women, and that's it.
Yep. That's
Vic Morrow and Doug McClure.
Yep.
And yeah. it's you know what though? I'd like to see it again.
Yeah. You do.
I haven't seen it in years, decades.
And you will love it.
I probably will now.
You really will.
No, that's a good one. I like that one.
Well, I said I was going to go for sleaze for the sake of sleaze. All right.
You did go with sleaze for the sake of sleaze. I'm going to go with a director who he was basically a New York director. He's hit and miss with me, but when he hits, he hits. And all of his movies are grimy and sleazy in their own way. Larry Cohen. Larry Cohen.
Forementioned earlier.
Yeah. That's what I said. I tipped my hat earlier. Larry Cohen made low-budget New York horror films.
Mm-hmm.
And
much like Henenlotter.
Yeah. I mean, Cohen's were better.
Yeah.
And the weird thing about Larry Cohen's work is he got Oscar-worthy performances by like out-of-work actors who were good but couldn't get, like Michael Moriarty in Q.
Yeah.
Is one of the best performances of the '80s. He's amazing. But Larry Cohen's movies, the sleaziest ones for me, one I like a lot and one I don't. It's Alive. I never liked It's Alive. It's really dumb. And it's a Rosemary's Baby wannabe.
Yeah.
To the
and it had a ending that was, thought provoking at least. But it's terribly executed.
It looks cheap, but it's really even the hospital walls look dirty.
Yeah.
Nothing looks clean. It's grimy and gritty.
Yeah.
But the one I do enjoy is God Told Me To.
Yeah.
About the killer in New York City.
Fantastic choice.
Yeah. Thank you.
Fantastic choice.
That's a good movie. It's a solid. It's almost more of a thriller. But it's put in the horror category. But it's New York 74, I believe, 5.
Yeah.
For that one. It's just sleazy guy going around killing people in New York.
Yeah.
That's it. And the cops are trying to stop him.
No other premise needed.
No.
You have a very sadistic killer.
Very
sadistic killer.
And it's not necessarily a gross movie. It's just in the 70s, New York was an ugly thing to look at. If you look at the French Connection, that New York is an ugly New York. I don't want that New York.
And all the way up till Jason Takes Manhattan, which was the worst of all of the Friday the 13th films, which you're not a fan of to start with.
That's not hard to be, yeah. Right. We still have to have that show, by the way.
No, Friday the 13th?
Oh, yeah.
Still deserves its day.
Yes, it does.
And we'll probably agree. Like, 1, 2, and 4.
We'll talk about it. But no, Larry Cohen. God told me to. It's really sleazy. It's nothing more than what I said it is. A guy's killing people in New York sadistically. Cops are trying to stop him.
Yeah.
And he's always one step ahead of them. But it's that ugly. It's the ugly New York of the French Connection, only in the summertime.
I can agree to that.
Yeah.
Let's see the dirty city for what it is.
Exactly. But it's very sleazy.
A lot of our films tonight,
New York,
have been dirty New York City.
And well, in the
totally unintentionally.
Well, you realize in the 70s, New York was like a third world country, and part of it, bombed out buildings, and looked like bombed out buildings. And, it was horrid. I don't know how people lived in New York in the 70s. I don't know how.
Only the strong survive.
Yeah. Paul Kersey, Charles Bronson, right. Death Wish. Yeah. But anyway, there you go, Larry Cohen, Sleazemeister, but with talent and style.
Sleazemeister,
with some style.
Connoisseur.
Did a couple of Masters of Horror too.
Well, I guess if I'm gonna go into sleaze and horror, you have to go back to a gentleman who did it early and made his name in it.
You're gonna go all the way back there,
and he lived in it and he reveled in it, and it was his thing. Yep, there's some initials to it.
There you go.
Want to say it?
H.G. Lewis, Herschel Gordon Lewis.
Yeah, Herschel Gordon Lewis.
Yeah,
he got me.
All right.
I mean, if you're gonna talk about sleaze horror, you got to talk about Herschel Gordon Lewis.
You definitely can't leave him out.
He is the man. He did it not first, but he did it often.
I'm not
and
too
enough
sure he
around
didn't do it first.
You know, he really, to make his name for it, he was first.
Yeah.
But you had Giallo before that. You know.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
The Italians were doing stuff that was pushing the limits.
Blood on Black Lace was 64. I believe.
Oh yeah. Mario Bava.
Yeah.
The man. And if you guys want to take something out of this horror podcast that isn't about the subject, just go look at Mario Bava.
There you go.
Yep.
But back to you.
Yep. So anyway, he created something that was unique, and not unique in that you won't see it anymore. It's just the first time you saw it. If that makes any sense. He was the first of that consistent sleaze. You know what you're getting when you watch a film by H.G. Lewis.
Right. No, you're right.
And he did it early. Wizards of Gore. Fantastic film. Not a great film.
I was just
but
saying,
fantastic film.
I respect Herschel Gordon Lewis more than I like Herschel Gordon Lewis.
And you like 1001 Maniacs more than the predecessor, but
yeah.
Or 10,000 Maniacs.
2001 Maniacs.
Yeah, 2000.
Yeah, no, that's light years ahead of Herschel Gordon Lewis's version. Yeah.
And of course his biggest one, Blood Feast.
Yeah.
Which is still terrible.
It's yours. Roll with it, baby.
I know, but they're all terrible movies. But the point of this podcast is sleaze horror.
No, you're right.
Come on.
No,
Do these
I'm
not fit
in disagreement.
In 1,000 different ways. You know, early gratuitous nudity, sluttiness in the characters, and the gore that came out that was over the top.
Yeah.
It had that whole grimy feel to it that you felt unclean watching it.
No, you did, yeah, and actually, he's probably might be the best example tonight of the grime and the. He
kind of started it.
They don't even look real.
I saved him till later, so
they almost look like documentaries. You know.
Yeah.
They're just, I don't know. I mean, I understand and respect his place in horror cinema, but I can't say I'll be buying the H.G. Lewis box set when it comes out. Yeah.
But he was prolific, so it'd be a big box set, you know?
It would. Actually, I would have it, because as a horror connoisseur, I can't not have Herschel Gordon Lewis in my collection.
And then that's, really my statement on this. If you're a real fan of horror, you have to at least go back and visit this man's films, because he is a predecessor to so much of the B horror movies that you guys love and watch nowadays.
Yeah.
He created that trope.
Yeah, the gore. There would be no extreme gore if it wasn't for Herschel Gordon Lewis.
There were other people pushing it at that time, but he's a man who did it consistently found a niche to get it out there to the public and create a want for it.
I believe he's the first one to show entrails.
Even before the Italians.
Yeah, but if you remember, Herschel Gordon Lewis's earliest movie was like 64, 5, 6.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. I don't know.
And then, by 69 you have, George Romero walking around with entrails. But
yeah.
That's
Real
the
ones.
time change. Yeah,
exactly.
And you're right. It was very, very early.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
So I give him a backhanded compliment, I guess. Like he deserves his place at the mantle. But on the mantle,
and deserves his place on this list.
No,
We're talking about
You're
sleazy
right.
horror.
You are correct, sir.
All right.
I'm going crazy here on this one. Ilsa, She-Wolf of the SS.
Oh.
You can call it horror, you can call it sleaze, it's grindhouse to the hilt. It is an appalling film. I love it. I love Ilsa, She-Wolf of the SS.
And all the films it spawned.
And Ilsa goes to Hawaii, Ilsa's
not just the Ilsa
gets
movies,
gooey and all,
but the women in prison movies.
Oh yeah,
that just
spawned that shit.
The 80s was full of them.
Yeah, and they slowly worked out the Nazis and in the bad prison wardens.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever crazy scenario. To
but
have
Ilsa, She-Wolf of the
again.
SS is just. It might be worse than what the Nazis did to the Jews.
Yeah.
In reality, I mean, there is extreme rape. Ugh. I believe one of them has bestiality in it.
Yeah.
Just extreme torture.
Urination.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Extreme torture, cutting nipples off and genitalia, disemboweling. It sounds like we're describing Caligula.
Yeah.
Ilsa, She-Wolf of the SS is so watchable.
It's entertaining
I don't
all
know
the way
what
through.
it is because I can't sit through any of the others.
Well, I mean, because you kind of have the Great Escape feel going on. They shot it on the set.
Yeah.
Of oh, come on, help me out here.
Help me.
Oh God,
the show, right?
The Hogan's Heroes.
Hogan's Heroes. Thank you.
Yeah, I got it first.
Bob Crane.
Hogan's Heroes. So shot it on the set of Hogan's Heroes, and it has this Great Escape feel to it.
It does.
At the same time as it has this disgusting.
It doesn't have the cast.
Sleazy.
Just
feel to it of torture and horrible things.
The actress who plays Ilsa is really into her role. I can't think of her name.
Oh.
But she's evil. And
not only evil, but buxom, blonde, and meant to be that strong Nazi female character. Could not have been cast better.
No.
For this type of B-sleaze horror role.
Her name was Diane Thorne.
Thorne.
But we have to sit through medical...
Diane Thorne makes me feel a little thorn in my pain.
Thorne, yeah. But we have to sit through medical experiments and rape and... But it's done with... I don't want to say style, but a certain je ne sais quoi, if you will, that it makes it completely watchable.
Yeah.
And you do need I need a Silkwood shower after I see that thing. It scrubbed me down, please. But Ilsa, She-Wolf of the SS, I can't not recommend it because I would own it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't watch it a lot, but I would own it. It's watchable. It's one of the best pure grindhouse films ever made.
I can agree to that.
And it's the only one. Like if people go out and say, you know what? Because we heard this, I've seen those titles. all these years, I'm going to finally go watch one. Make sure you watch the first one, Ilsa, She-Wolf of the SS.
Yes.
The rest, you'll be like, what the fuck are you talking about? Actually, when you see this, you might be saying, what the fuck are you talking about? But as a horror connoisseur, again...
Go see it.
It works.
It's worth it.
It works. It's solid.
It's so loved in the genre that even...
Rob
Zombie. Yeah, you beat me to it. Even Rob Zombie played a tribute
Women
to
of the
it.
SS. He has a song on one of his CDs and his
fake movie trailer
in Grindhouse. Yeah.
That gets it right there.
Yeah. It's really for lack of a better way to say it, a fantastic movie, but ultimately phantasmagorically sleazy.
Phantasmagorically.
You like that?
Yeah.
There you go. Ilsa, She-Wolf of the SS.
One of my favorites. I can really, really watch that movie again. I don't know how many more times, but
yeah, I know.
I can watch it again.
Not too many more before they bugle me up to heaven, as Willie Nelson says. But yeah, no.
The Sleazometer does meet it though.
Yes, it does.
All right.
Yes.
So,
skip Ilsa, Tigress of Siberia.
Tiger.
Harem Keeper of the Oil Sheiks and Ilsa the Wicked Warden. Skip all those. Anyway, back to you.
All right.
We'll do a few more for him here. This doesn't need to be a 2-hour one.
I know.
The Sleazy podcast.
Where are we at now?
Oh, we're fine. I was just saying.
Oh my God, we're running over. We're talking too much.
No, we're not. We're fine.
I like sleaze. I can talk all day about it.
Me too.
All right, so if we're going to talk about sleazy horror, there's another name, and we were talking about Italian directors earlier, and you have your people, but
here he comes.
There's a man who did sleaze and horror really well together, and his name was Lucio Fulci.
Oh boy, yeah.
Fulci had a way of making you feel grossed out.
Yeah, he did.
Really, really grossed out.
Really grossed out, man.
I mean, in ways that were effective enough that I actually put him in top categories in some things that I talk about in horror.
Oh, sure.
I mean, in certain aspects, he reaches top category. And
of sleaze.
Sleaze. And his use of gore. Most, I think, impactful scene for me, or impacting scene on me, was in City of the Living Dead.
I know what you're going to say.
Where the girl sees the hanging priest outside of her car and just proceeds to puke her own entrails out into her own lap.
Ah, yes.
And then after she's done this and the guy still hasn't gotten out of the car yet, you dumb fuck, she reaches over and just squishes his brain out of the back of his head. Awesome.
Yeah.
Do I need to tell you anymore?
Say no more.
Have I told you enough as a horror fan that you need to go look into this man?
No, Fulci was,
a master.
He really was. Not a master of the screenplay, per se.
No. He lacked a lot in that category.
But a master. And he eventually gave up and started doing, straight-to-video porn films. Softcore with, a hardcore scene in the middle of it.
Yeah, I can believe that. And yes, you are true. And that's why he got so prolific. But he was...
I am true.
Even when he was doing his...
I like that.
And even when he was in his heyday, he was still cranking out a movie
God.
a month.
Yeah.
He was one of the most prolific filmmakers of all time.
Of ever.
But if you watch his film, he still makes a complete film.
Yeah.
He finds a way to get the beginning, middle, and the end. I don't care how cheap it is. You're going to see a story from A to B.
You are, yeah.
And he managed
and lots of nubile women.
And he managed to squeak out a few that were worthy. He did a sequel, but it was not a sequel in his mind.
And it wasn't a sequel.
It was not a sequel. It was really not.
Studio that tacked
But he did a sequel to Dawn of the Dead for the Italian audience, known as Zombie 2, or zombie.
But
here.
now officially they dropped it finally.
Yeah, so it's zombie.
It's now just zombie. We are going to eat you.
We're going to eat you.
With the most realistic zombie ever.
Oh,
that's what a zombie would look like.
Well, literally, if anybody wants a laugh, go on YouTube, look up Peeping Herbert the Zombie Pervert.
There you go.
It is a fake movie trailer that I did because I was inspired by Grindhouse, and the mask that I use in it is a Lucio Fulci mask that you are referring to.
I am.
The zombie character.
And he looks like the character in the movie looks like he has rotted away and then crawled out of the grave to get something to eat.
And he quite literally
does, yes, indeed.
And gets Tisa Farrow's neck.
That's right. It
tears
Tisa
it open.
Farrow. And lest we not forget that it has the all-time classic zombie scene of a zombie fighting a shark.
Oh, a zombie fighting a shark? Yeah. A slow eye impalement?
Oh, yeah. That's good.
Lots of good stuff.
And you're right. Fulci, Sleazy, as I called Cohen, Sleazy Meister, even more than Cohen.
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah? Yeah.
Cohen just happened to be making movies in New York, low budget in the 70s.
Right.
That's what made him sleazy.
It had that sleaze factor to it.
Fulci said, "This is going to be sleazy." Actually, Fulci's not an Arabian. He's an Italian, so that was the wrong voice. That's the wrong voice I used, folks. But hey, I'm sorry, boils and ghouls on this podcast.
Right.
Yeah, Fulci, good one.
Yeah, sleaze.
There you go. And here's the thing. If you want to get some Fulci and you don't know Fulci, go to Zombie, start there, and work your way backwards. Don't go forwards. Go backwards from Zombie, right?
I would agree. I mean,
well, wait, he did.
So if you're going to look at them,
no, House by the
Cemetery, The Beyond.
Oh, those are all after Zombie.
Yeah.
I'll say I'm sorry.
No. The Beyond was first.
Okay, and then Zombie.
Then he did Zombie. Then he did House by the Cemetery, and then City of the Living Dead.
Oh, City of the Living Dead. Okay, start at City of the Living Dead.
Before all of those, he did a good Giallo film. Don't Torture a Duckling.
Yeah, it's good. It's not great.
Yeah, it's not great,
it's
but
good.
You know, it was.
Interesting
You could see his thirst for the gore.
Sure, and one of my favorite titles. It's a great title.
And you know, maybe he was influenced by the person we just mentioned.
Maybe
H.G. Lewis.
Yeah.
I mean, you certainly see a lot of H.G. Lewis in that movie in particular. Don't Torture a Duckling.
Yeah, actually, you're right.
Yeah.
I could stand to see that again. It's been years. So check out some Fulci, folks.
It's worth a look.
Boils and ghouls.
Worth a look.
I'm going to go back to one from 1973. Thriller. A Cruel Picture. A.K.A. they call her One Eye. For those who aren't in the know, and by my partner and dear friend's face, I don't think he's seen this either.
Damn it.
It is
Two times in one night.
Boom.
2 times in one night.
It is the film that Tarantino it's one of his influences. Daryl Hannah with her patch was
okay, you know, I do know the Thriller.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Sure. It's a Swedish film.
Yes.
And it's the old story. The old standby. Girl's raped and she takes her revenge. And they did insert...
Spit on Your Grave.
Yeah, right.
Last House on the Left.
And in this one, they do insert some hardcore porno shots.
Yeah.
That is not the actors on film. I hate that they did that. But you cannot find a version without that in it. But anyway...
Bob Guccione was the producer.
She loses her eye. She has a patch and a shotgun and a leather jacket. And she goes after them in a very violent manner.
And was an iconic female character.
Was a culty grindhousey iconic female character that again Tarantino took.
Agreed.
But it's a good movie, and it is sleazy. It's set in Sweden. Again, it's 1973. There are subtitles. I think it's dubbed.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure you can find both versions.
Yeah. But it's gross. The rape scene is brutal. Not as brutal as something like Last House on the Left, but pretty close.
Yeah, I can agree to that. Just shy of.
Yeah, and her revenge is brutal. Shoots a guy in the nether region in full view of the camera.
Instead of cutting it off in a bathtub like I spit on your grave.
It's a sleazy movie, and it's nothing more than a sexploitation, grindhousey, death wishy movie with a female protagonist with one eye.
I can agree.
And it's really good though. It's watchable.
Agreed. And that's what's best about it, is that you can actually follow the story from A to B not only easily, but it keeps you entertained.
Yeah,
you're looking for the next scene. It's good.
Maybe that's what I want to say. I say it's a good movie. It's entertaining.
Right.
Yeah, more than a good movie.
You're looking for the next scene. That's the
exactly.
best we
and it works. And if you're in a grindhouse, sleazy mood, thriller, A Cruel Picture, a.k.a. They Color One Eye. Check that out. Back to you. Let's do like one more each or a couple more each.
Yeah, we can
wrap up the sleaze.
One more each. Yeah.
All right.
So I'm actually going to jump forward in time because I've been doing a lot of older stuff.
Yeah.
I'm going to do something a little more recent, but still old. Sorry, still older. And not really horror, but it's one that definitely gave me that feeling. Snake Eyes.
Snake Eyes?
With
De Palma?
Yeah, with Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, that's... Whenever we do an underrated show on widescreen, I'm going to bring that up, because I love that film. You find it sleazy?
It made me feel
Nicolas
unclean.
Cage is sleazy.
No, the whole rape subject matter and the...
Rape?
I'm sorry, I'm not saying Snake Eyes. I mean, damn. I said Snake Eyes.
What the hell's happening?
Oh, Jesus.
Snake Eyes is a great movie, though, folks.
8mm.
Oh, yeah, okay.
8mm. Why'd I say Snake Eyes?
Because it's a eminently better movie than the piece of shit 8mm, but go on.
8mm was sleazy.
Yeah, it was sleazy, you're right. Joel Schumacher. The director of The Lost Boys, and
you're right, I do like Snake Eyes probably better as a film, but that movie made me feel gross.
It does. I agree with that.
It made me feel gross.
It did.
So, mission accomplished if you listen to what I said
and I guess
at the beginning of this podcast.
That in the horror category.
If you can make me feel something, as a director or whatever, if you can make me feel anything, good job.
Yeah, and
I'll give you that.
And that's certainly a sleazy movie, and
it did make me like.
And that's a major Hollywood film.
And I've seen things come after it that are similar. Movies and films that I can think of after that. I kind of think of a Serbian film as much as I frickin' hate that movie.
I don't even consider that a film. We've talked about that.
But it was a far extension ripoff of Snake Eyes.
8mm.
8mm.
Let's put Snake Eyes out of the
All right, so forget Snake Eyes. 8mm. But it was the extension of the feeling that I got from 8mm when I first watched it. It was because anytime you're talking about anything that has to do with rape or extreme like pedophilia, any of that stuff, like I get to a level of disgust so fast.
Yeah, there's no entertainment in Serbian film. I want to put it out there from Tony's point of view to the listeners. I know everybody in the horror community has heard of Serbian film. I don't consider it a film. I believe in artistic freedom, but that is not entertainment to me, for me. Right. Not entertaining. I would not recommend anyone see that film. I think it's garbage. A Serbian film, not 8mm.
Yeah, a Serbian film is it's just about a subject that I don't care for.
And it's not fun. Like everybody, that was for a very short time, that was the one to find on the internet and watch. And it's weird because things get taken off of YouTube for everything, for little things.
Yeah, that's where I watched it.
And me
too.
The uncut,
on
full version
YouTube.
of the Serbian film is on YouTube.
Yeah.
If you dare. You will not have a good time. To all the horror fans out there who want to get it under their belt, it's not even one to have under your belt.
And you know what?
You will feel horrible.
You know what? It fits the subject.
It sure
made
does.
its way on here, but we didn't even mean it to.
No, we
I
didn't.
was just like,
yeah.
I was like, fuck Serbian film. But
yeah.
I almost feel like a Serbian film went on an extension of what you saw in 8mm. And 8mm grossed me out.
Well, 8mm is
similarly, but it was a more tame time when I watched that.
That's 99.
We're more desensitized now. So the same thing that grossed you out in just 20 years ago, 10 years ago, doesn't gross you out anymore.
No,
it's known. It's
and
done,
for those who don't
over.
know, Nicolas Cage is a private detective who gets hired to find a girl,
right?
And discovers she was in a snuff film,
and proceeds to go after the filmmakers and film actors,
and that's where it starts losing me. By the way, like it gets Death Wishy.
Yeah,
it should have stayed on that thriller aspect of him discovering this seedy
a little more
underworld.
Seven-esque.
Yeah, there's a Sleazy movie, but a masterpiece.
Done well. Yeah.
But excuse me. But no, like I enjoyed, for lack of a better way to say it, I like the first half of 8mm, but it's when he turns vigilante that it doesn't work for me anymore. Like, it should have been more interesting. You know what I think is better? It should have been more interesting watching him go into that seedy underworld and discovering all this. We're discovering it with him. You know what I think is a better film about that? And of course, it's written and directed by Paul Schrader. So of course, Hardcore from 1978.
Okay.
George C. Scott's daughter goes
Yeah.
missing. He finds that she's doing porno, and he goes through the sleazy porno war. That's a better take on that. But 8mm is fine for me until he goes vigilante. That's where I have the issues.
I gotcha.
Joaquin Phoenix is very good in that movie.
Yeah, he was good as the porno store operator guy.
Yeah, who had all the connects.
Yeah.
He had all the contacts.
And kept him going.
Yeah.
And it ended up being a good guy, you know?
Yeah.
As sleazy as he was. You were like, oh, you expect him to turn on this guy, and he ends up being the guy who comes through for him.
And James Gandolfini is one of the baddies.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
James pre-Tony Soprano.
Barely.
God rest his soul.
A year, by the way. Or no, the same year. The Sopranos premiered in 99, didn't it?
I believe it did. First season.
Yeah. So he was on the cusp of his breakout role. Yeah.
All right. Well, loud back to you,
choice.
sir.
All right. My final choice is what many consider to be one of the sleaziest films ever made in the horror genre. I think it is one of the best horror films ever made. Tom Savini does the really grotesque special effects. It is almost.
I know where we're going.
Do you? It is.
I don't know. Let's see.
All right. It is almost, in my opinion, and I don't mean on a philosophically deep level. I mean on a sleazy feeling level. It is the horror movie equivalent of Taxi Driver for me. This guy cruises the New York streets at night, the sleaziest parts of New York, for a reason, and kills people violently. 1980, directed by William Lustig.
Lustig? No?
Maniac.
It really was taking that slasher genre and doing something different with it.
Yeah.
Doing something different. Yeah.
He's making mannequins out of women. Pre-Silence of the Lambs.
And well, I guess it was post. Was it not Waxworks?
No, it's pre that too.
Wax Museum.
Well, yeah, that was. But no, it's 1980, right in the middle of that New York.
Yeah.
It's gross. It's ugly. Joe Spinell stars in it. And he played it very. He said I didn't wash my hair. I wanted to look like this grotesque. The sexy Carolyn Monroe is in it.
It was like Driller Killer, only
there's
done
another
better.
Abel Ferrara. That was Abel Ferrara's
Driller
first,
Killer.
That's a suck movie too. Let me tell you. No.
And that's not to say that all the slashers back then had that gross, grimy feeling.
No, just apparently the ones. Again, it's another New York film.
Yeah. Because you could go and watch, April Fool's Day or, Halloween or any of those, like so many of The Burning.
Yeah, those aren't sleazy.
They're not sleazy, but they're great. Yeah. I love them, and they're in their slasher genre, but they're not sleazy.
Though. Yeah.
And this was.
Yeah. Maniac's right.
Yeah.
Maniac is one. But I also happen to think it's a little masterpiece, too. I love the hell out of this movie. I've owned the DVD
has
forever.
Its place. Definitely has its place.
I now own the Blu-ray. And the late great Joe Spinell. It's just so grimy and sleazy. And the Taxi, for those of you who have seen it and are saying, what the hell is he talking about comparing it to Taxi Driver? The Taxi Driver comparison. He stays up all night driving through the streets of New York. He doesn't want to be a guardian angel, by the way, like Bickle wanted to be a savior. I don't know Spinell's character's name. He wants to kill people and make mannequins out of them, women. And it's a gross, and he's around all the porno theaters and this. It's just a really disgusting movie.
And you're right. It emphasizes that whole underbelly, like we were talking about, of New York back then. And it's really a good timestamp for it too.
With the exception of 8mm and Fulci, every one of our choices have been New York set horror films.
Yeah, that's true.
Except H.G. Lewis, yeah.
They had a griminess to them.
Yeah, they did. New York had a really, And in mainstream cinema, it was grimy and sleazy cop films.
Yeah.
Serpico and The Lot. But no, Maniac, it's one of my favorite horror films.
And speaking of cops, I got to revisit one of our films, Street Trash.
Yeah.
That cop in that movie.
Right.
Oh my God. It's
so
glorious.
It's old enough to spoil it for him.
So glorious. No, I'm not going to spoil anything. Yeah, he is just the chauvinist-esque cop-ass motherfucker ever.
The cop character he's speaking of in Street Trash would not play today.
Oh, no.
None of the movies we've mentioned would not play today.
And as much as I am for, an evolved society where, people can understand one another, I don't believe in censoring everybody. And now we've gotten so pussified in what we can say.
Film.
No, I'm scared to say anything. It used to be you could speak your mind.
Yeah.
And you weren't immediately classified a racist, an asshole, this, that, or the other.
Yeah.
And it's a scary time. You can't say shit.
You can't say anything.
And comedians are getting cracked down
on.
And they're like, hey, but I'm poking fun at that. I'm poking fun at that point. Yeah. They're like, yeah, but you said it. You racist. But I've made a joke about black people and I'm black.
Yeah, exactly. Very quickly, the late, great comedian Patrice O'Neill spoke about that once, and brilliantly. He had his first Comedy Central special. And he had a joke. And this is Patrice O'Neill speaking, people. I'm sorry. Patrice said, and the punchline was, nigger in a Cadillac. And he said, Comedy Central bleeped out Cadillac. That's the way of thinking. Right. That's the way of thinking.
Right.
How did we get here? I like it, but how did we get here?
Hey, it's life, and it's how things
Life
roll.
Lessons that are priceless on this and many other shows we will be doing. I think that's a good list. I think that's a good list. I think it was a good sleazy show. I think we all need showers now.
Yeah. Pretty unclean.
And very quickly to wrap up.
And hey, let's just do a quick little other things that you need to see that will make you feel unclean.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. Like
a little runoff.
I purposely stayed away from Last House on the Left, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Eaten Alive, another Tobe Hooper sleaze fest, because those are bigger and classier, air quotes.
Right.
A different level of sleaze. That wasn't the kind of sleaze we were talking about tonight. Street trash.
Oh yeah, I
You know,
mean going
that's
for the
Maniac.
gutter,
That's what we're talking about tonight.
and going for the gutter.
Yeah.
And that's what we were trying to do.
Yeah. Chud is a movie that I don't love, but that's a pretty sleazy New York horror film.
Subhumanoid. Oh wait.
Cannibalistic
humanoid underground dwellers. Yeah.
Chud.
Which had
Daniel
my
Stern
guy
and John Hurd.
and even a cameo appearance by one of my favorite men of all time.
In Chud?
Yes.
Who's cameo?
John Goodman.
Well, we didn't know him at the time. So
Yeah, he was a veritable unknown at that time.
Yeah.
John Goodman, cameo in Chud.
That's when he had kind of long, bushy hair.
Yeah.
Down to his ear.
Agreed.
Yeah, Chud's a good sleazy one. But that's what we're going for. We're not going for the Texas Chainsaws, the big ones, the
Right.
classics.
The ones that you'll identify with.
Yeah. Did you have a couple quickies to?
Oh, I certainly did just a second ago. Actually, I had like
and
3
now
or
they're
4.
gone.
And they're all gone.
Well, that's all right. I mean, this is a perfect sleaze show. We don't need a
Exactly.
2-hour sleaze show.
1 hour?
We hope that we turned you on to some good ones.
Agreed.
Or some ones that you may want to enjoy. And hey, even though I said I don't like him, please, if you're a horror fan and you have not seen him, see Herschel Gordon Lewis's films. All of them.
Yeah.
Well, except his biker chick ones that he did towards the end. You can skip that because that's not horror. And
Yeah,
this is a horror
it becomes
podcast.
more like, what was his name? Andy Sedaris?
Yeah. Oh my God, you know Andy Sedaris. I love it.
All right.
Malibu Express. All right. Well, thank you, Boils and Ghouls.
Boys and Ghouls!
For joining us, and we hope you enjoyed the Sleaze Fest. And we will be back next show. We have our subject for the next show, and the next time, episode 4, we're going to do horror comedies.
Horror comedies. But not
not straight out horror. That's not the way to word it.
Yeah. We're going to do horror and comedy properly mixed.
Properly mixed. The fine balance of both.
Because it's so
balance
often
in all
fucked
things
up.
is if and we will do that. We will have that for you next show. But we hope you enjoyed our Sleaze Fest. Hope
Go take a shower.
Hope we didn't lose any class with you tonight. And I'm Tony.
I'm Matt.
And stay scared. We'll
Bitches.
see you next time.